Now you can talk.
Now I can talk. I talk all day and I love it.
I do too. You might hear thunder because it's raining again here in Madison.
God, it's so weird. Tell me, I mean, some people think that talking about the weather is boring. I think the opposite. I love talking about the weather. Has it been like really dry until now for you guys? Because it has been in Tennessee.
Yeah, like a drought.
Yeah, like I don't know that we were considered a drought necessarily. Maybe we were. I don't know. I don't know what the criteria is for that. But we didn't have any rain for like a freaking month. And then this past freaking week has been rain every single day, all day long. And we had flooding in Waverly, Tennessee, which is it's not that close to us in Nashville. But I'm like, it killed like 10 plus people. Like it was a really big deal. So I didn't know if it was happening up there with you guys too.
We had some flooding, but I don't think any deaths. Yeah, I mean, even the Nashville floods were on the national news.
Right.
Yeah.
I had a ton of people reach out and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." You know, Waverly is pretty far west considering, you know. I mean, it's really not that far, but as far as flooding goes, it's not that close to us. And so I don't know. It's so sad. It's always tragic when that happens, especially because oftentimes flooding is sometimes very quick to happen.
Oh yeah.
Like there's not much preparation you can do.
No, a few weekends ago I was at the cabin and we had some pretty heavy rains and they were talking about all this flooding. Well, on my way home, I went past quite a few rivers and sure enough, they were super low when I drove up. And then by the time I drove down, it wasn't good. They were overflowing.
Which is a great place for us to do a quick PSA. Do not drive into water.
No, please don't do that.
Please don't do that. It's a really bad idea.
No.
You never know. I just learned a stat the other day, and the other day, I mean yesterday, that a car can float away in 6 inches of water.
I did not know that.
And an SUV can float away in 2 feet of water. So water is very powerful, and you don't know what's underneath.
No, you have no idea. No.
Yeah. Don't drive into it, please.
So have you been up to anything exciting this past week?
Not terribly, because it's been raining this weekend. I wanted to go out. I haven't kayaked in a while, and so I really wanted to go kayaking. I did not. Hung out with friends and really haven't been I've been laying low. My house was a mess, and so I had to clean it the other day. And I don't know if you're like this, but I can kind of tell where my mental health is at by the way my house looks. And it's just like, I have not had chance to clean my house. And so I was like, I can feel the chaos in my body right now. I can see it in my environment. Like I just had to say no to people that wanted to hang out. And I was like, I'm just going to clean my house. And it's still not great, but it's better than it was before.
It looks pretty clean.
It looks clean from this angle. I angled it correctly, but other than that, I've just been reading and trying to get better at meditating and been running. I ran yesterday.
Hey, awesome.
Finally, I have not. Again, it's been raining. And then before that, I've been doing other things. So I ran yesterday, which I was surprised at how well it went. So
good for you.
Yeah. What about you?
Same thing. For the most part, I did have a really good workout this weekend, and my house is a disaster. I do feel the same thing. And it's interesting because, which is a perfect segue into our topic tonight, is why can't I get things done? So I'll plan on, Matt was at a shoot this past weekend, and I thought, oh, I'll be able to get stuff done on Friday night or Saturday during the day. And everything that I had planned pretty much didn't turn out. I did end up doing yard work. So even with all the landscaping, I still needed to do a little bit of yard work. So that did get done. Didn't finish it though, but it got 90% of the way done. So how come we don't follow through on the things that we say that we're going to follow through on?
God, I feel like this just opens a can of worms. There's so many reasons. Where do you start?
Reasons. Lots of reasons.
I mean, I think it comes down to different types of reasons. Like, I think there's such things as like self-sabotage, or just, it can be as simple as not having the time in the day slash not making it a priority, to legitimately mental blocks where you can't physically do it because you're I mean, not really paralyzed, but you're like mentally paralyzed and can't get it done. I
Yeah,
mean,
I hear you.
I
So I
don't know.
did research, as always,
Typical Robin fashion.
because I enjoy it. I think it's
What'd you
awesome.
find out?
Well, I found out that there's quite a few things, and after reading some of them, it all made sense. So the biggest barriers is something called akrasia, Akrasia, which actually is more or less procrastinating. So most of us know it
Okay.
as procrastination, just not getting things done. And then when
Mhm.
I dug a little deeper, it really comes down to planning and breaking down barriers and having goals. Things that we've talked about over and over and over again on this podcast. So
Right.
those are basically the three big things that get in the way of why people don't finish things.
I think that's so true. Procrastination, I feel like, can be brought on by lots of things, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of it is procrastination. I know, and maybe you've noticed this too. I mean, I used to be the queen of procrastination, and I think it's just something that I've done since I was a child. And maybe it's just the way I work. I seem to work really well under pressure. Not that that's a good thing, but I find that I procrastinate for different reasons. So I don't know. You don't seem like the kind of person that procrastinates, but maybe you do.
I
I
used
don't
to.
know.
It's interesting that you say that because I used to procrastinate
So you
and
think you could change that? It sounds like I think it
completely.
can. I feel like I've changed
Mhm.
it.
Yes, it completely changed it. So, and a lot of it too. So, personally, it was just not enough ambition, not enough. We talked about ambition too the last podcast, but not enough motivation. There wasn't a clear goal, a defined goal. There wasn't a reward or a reward system at the end of it. So, therefore, why start something? But
Mm-hmm.
as I got older and realized, I too used to think that I wrote my best papers in college and grad school, at the last minute, and oh, I can come up with a 20-page paper in 5 hours, and I could, but I could have done better had I planned, had a goal,
Mm-hmm.
had a timeline. So basically project managed the goal and project managed how I was going to get to where I needed to get to. So
Which
the rules,
ironically now you're a project manager, you know?
yeah, I'm a PMP.
Yeah.
I Yeah, and it's interesting how you start to think of, okay, so I started a quilt back in 1990. It's still sitting on my counter. In fact, it's right now. And here we are in 2021 and it's still not done. So I was thinking to myself, why isn't it done yet? There's no real motivation to finish it. I like the way it is. I'm not going to hang it up. I'm not going to display it. I'm not going to use it. So there's no real reason to finish it. I'm sure you have projects around the house that you've
Yeah.
started and have not finished.
I mean, I feel like everyone does. And that brings me to a kind of a question is, I mean, is there any shame in that? Because I feel like a lot of times, especially some of these like motivational, sorry, my dog is wild next to me. Sometimes I feel like sometimes motivational speakers and stuff will be like, how, you should always finish what follow through and stuff. But I think sometimes there just is a lack of motivation. And I don't think that there's a bad thing about that. I think sometimes we just lose motivation. Can I help you?
Well, because there's no real reason to finish it.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
something else new and shiny, or something that has a higher priority. I will say
Right.
work-wise, completely
Mhm.
different. I get my stuff
Right.
done way ahead of time. I always build in a buffer. I used to never do that at work either. If my boss would give me a deadline of, I don't know, August 30th, I'd get it done by the 29th, or I'd get it done by the 30th. And then I'd continually work on it for a couple of weeks prior. But now I
Mhm.
get started on it right away because what if I'm sick? What if I'm out because Matt needs something? Or who knows? What if anything happens and I don't have that extra time to get it done? Now I've missed a deadline. So my work completely changed, have very early deadlines for myself. I'll still meet whatever deadline, but yeah, completely different at work. There is zero procrastination. And if I think, I don't know how
Yep.
I'm going to start, I just start with a blank page and start writing anything. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you just start going. So
I
home, I
think
do procrastinate some things. And I think you're right. I think sometimes social media or the gurus do make you feel guilty about not finishing my quilt from 1990. I don't give two hoots about it. Like, I'm proud of it. It's good. If I want to finish it someday, I will.
yeah. I think that's a great point that you make because I feel like I'm very similar. We have very similar, I guess, views on this as far as like how we grew up. Because, man, I used to procrastinate all the time. I was the kid, and like my brother, complete opposite. Like when I was in high school, middle school, I wouldn't wait until the very last minute to write a paper. I hated doing homework. I would avoid it at all costs. Was not interested in it at all. My brother, on the other hand, would start a month in advance to write a paper. Would go and do his homework every single night. Just complete opposites. But I will say, kind of like you mentioned, it got to the point where I thought I was good at it until I realized that my best quality work actually happened when I did do a little bit of planning, which makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And so it's changed a lot. But I like what you said in that I think work and home is completely different because at work you kind of have someone else, even though they can be your boss or something, it's kind of your accountability partner in a way. Like your boss is going to hold you to it. But yeah, I mean, when I get assigned a task or something, or I have to do something for my boss, I get it done immediately because there's no reason not to. But then when I say, oh, I'm going to clean my house, it sometimes I'll put it off, or I'm like, oh, I'm going to look at like one of my things, I'm trying to get property. And so I had to look up a bunch of the codes for this. And God, did I procrastinate? It took me months to go ahead and get around to doing it because at the end of the day, it's like, no, what does it matter? In my mind, there wasn't a deadline. Didn't put a deadline on myself. And at the end of the day, there was no it wasn't like I had to have it done by that time. Like if it was a self-made deadline, it could get pushed. Finally, I just made myself do it. But it's just, I feel like there has to be something like an accountability partner or something for some things that you can't, especially if you have a hard time getting started and actually following through. I know I've had to do that with certain things to make sure I get them done because it's, it's funny because I love the feeling of accomplishment. I love feeling like I could check something off of a list, but it takes me forever to do it. And I don't know why.
I think
It's
it's just
odd.
priority. Yeah. It's just not so
Priority.
important.
Yeah, and I don't know if you find this too, but do you find that your motivation comes in spurts? Because mine comes in waves. And the thing is, I can't tell if that has to do with just burnout, like we were talking about the other day. Like sometimes I feel like I have all of the energy in the world and I can work and work and work for like a week and just do all the Googling and all the research and all the, I look at a lot of properties on different, like Zillows and Land and Farm and all these websites. And some days I feel like I could do that all day. And then other days I'm like, I don't want to look at my phone. And I mean, these will last for weeks at a time where I'm just like, I don't have the motivation. It's still there. So that's the thing is like, and I've gotten better about listening to my body. Like there are some times where I think you just have to, your body is telling you, take a step back, take a rest. You need to do that. And I've tried to get better about, I'll feel the urge when I need to, and I won't when I don't. And so I don't know. Do you find that as well?
Absolutely. 100%. There are
Yeah.
times, well, last weekend was a great example. Saturday morning, or 2 weekends ago, Saturday morning, Matt and I were sitting watching TV, which we typically on a Saturday and Sunday morning will maybe watch an hour, maybe 2 hours of TV in the morning, but it's mindless and normally it's just on for background noise and we're talking or we're looking up something
Right.
else on our phone or researching something. And then all of a sudden I looked at the clock and I said, Matt, it's 11:15 in the morning. And Matt and I were both still camped out, he in his recliner, I was on the couch, and I thought, this is ridiculous. I said, we've got to get up and get something done. This is very
Mhm.
unlike us. So yeah, we needed to take a rest. And then I proceeded to go out and do a 9 mile walk. It was very lazy. It was just whatever
Mhm.
I wanted to do, but I thought I've got the time. I haven't done anything, so I need to do
Mhm.
something. But cleaning, so cleaning the house, I'll go in cleaning sprees where
Yep.
all of a sudden everything in the house is clean, including the basement. And then it'll be, I don't know, it's not that the house is dirty, but it could take another deep clean again. But yeah,
I
it's
do it all
definitely
the
in
time.
spurts. Mm-hmm.
I get in these weird cleaning phases too where I'm like, I just want everything to be so clean. And I just will just spend hours cleaning like random things and I don't know what that is. Although they say sometimes that has to do with like ADHD. So I can like hyper fixating on certain things or, but it's just very interesting because it yeah, I look back on my year and I'm just like sometimes especially when you kind of mentioned this topic, I was like, what have I been really like what do I need to follow through on? Because that's the theme of this today's topic is follow through. And so I was like looking back when you mentioned that, and I'm like, what are the things that I set out to do this year, last year, in general, that I haven't been following through on? And I don't know that any of them have not been followed through, but I will say, when does follow through like at what point are you really not following through anymore? Or because there are times where I feel like I've put in the effort, but I'm not doing as much as I probably could be, you know? Because it's
Yes.
like I don't know that I'm not following through, but I'm not really putting in the effort to do it
Well, and
either.
what is complete?
Yeah, I don't think that there really is ever anything complete.
So that
Like I
also
think
depends.
because I think we talked about it. I can't remember the episode we talked about it, but you mentioned the ladder and like if you have too big of rungs, you'll never get, you have no way to get to the next one. But then there are ones where if you make little tangible goals, oftentimes you can make it to the next rung. So it's like, I feel like those can be checked off of a list, okay, for me getting this land, look up the codes, check out to see how much it would be to hook up electric from the electric company for this many feet. Those are all things that I can check off of a list because they're tangible things. They have an end in mind. It's not like this big goal, like own property and have a business. Like that's not, I guess technically that you could mark that off of a list,
Yeah,
but does it really
sure.
ever end? I guess. I don't
No,
know.
probably not.
Yeah, that's like a major thing. But again, you can do check off all the little things up to that point.
Sure.
So yeah, it's like I don't know. I think as long as you're making positive steps in the right direction, even if it's paused for a little bit, I think you're still following through with it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I did look up some ways to complete the tasks or to
Mhm.
get to the follow through so that they're done. This is coming from thehopeline.com. So catch a clear vision for where you want to go. Find
Mhm.
people who are doing what you want to do and talk to them, which we have talked before about Instagram and how
Mhm.
I love to see the influencers and the people out there
Mhm.
doing things. Same thing on Facebook, getting into groups of doing what I want to do and just following along and asking questions. I think
Mhm.
that's soup. Yeah. I think that would be incredibly helpful. I can't spit it
Mhm.
out. And then figuring out the steps it's going to take there to get you there, which is the planning stage, which I think people don't put a whole lot of effort into planning sometimes. I think there's those of us that think we know what the planning is, but we really don't. And then when we start planning things out, like for example, I started working with a personal trainer, and he had asked me, what is your short-term goals, your mid-term goals, and your long-term goals? And honestly, I knew what the end goal was, but I had not broke it into little pieces, like you said, baby steps. When I had talked about it before in the podcast about the ladder and having the little steps
Mhm.
instead of the big chunks of steps.
Mhm.
So that was really interesting. It was a great exercise for me to go through it, no pun intended, on
Mhm.
figuring out all the different phases that I wanted to go through, and then how do you get to each phase. So
Mhm.
planning, figuring out the steps that it's going to take, and then having a timeline. I think a timeline is super important.
Yeah.
Set
They
large,
go ahead.
set large and small goals and track your progress to keep you motivated. Be prepared for setbacks. I don't think a lot of us ever think about this. And
Mhm.
it's huge. And then the last one is find a way to use your dream to help people. So whatever you're trying to accomplish, how can you do it and then still help people at the same time? And again, this reference is coming from thehopeline.com.
That reminds me, this may not have to do anything what you just said, but have you ever heard of, oh God, I'm going to butcher this word. Let me look it up. I think it's Ikigai, but
It's called what?
Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Yeah, it's pronounced Ikigai pronunciation. I feel like okay. I'm gonna click on this. Let's see what it says on YouTube. Maybe you'll be able to hear it. Ah, it's a Headspace commercial. One moment. Okay. See what it says.
We are looking at how to pronounce the word that designates that means a reason the word refers to having in life. How do you go about pronouncing it? Ikigai.
Ikigai, yeah. Okay, so what is it? I guess you just kind of talked about it, but it means one's reason for being. It's like a Japanese concept. Let's see. Japanese concept referring to something that gives a person a sense of purpose and a reason for living. But what you just said reminded me of it. Where did you go? Sorry, you're on a different screen. You're right there. So it's really cool. We'll have to post a picture of this image, but there's a book about it. And it talks about your ikigai is like when you look for something that you want to do, especially if you're passionate about it, it's where basically it's 4 principles and they overlap, and that's your ikigai, which is find something you love. Find something you love, find something that the world needs, find something that you can be paid for, and find something that you are good at. Like that, and that altogether is your ikigai, because what you love and what the world needs is your mission. What the world needs and what you can be paid for is your vocation. What you're good at and what you can be paid for is your profession, and what you love and what you're good at is your passion. And all that is your ikigai. But
very interesting. I have never heard of that.
it's cool. Yeah, it's just this. Yeah, it's a book, and I can't remember the author. I can look it up, but it's a very good book.
And we all know that we like a good book.
We love a good book. It is called Ikigai: The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life, and it is written by Hector Garcia and Francesc Miralles.
We'll look it up.
I'll look it up. Yeah, it's really cool. I have that written in my little notebook because it's just, I love the idea of like, what does the world need? What do you love? What can you be paid for? And what are you good at? Like, and that's your purpose and your reason for living, especially like what does the world need? Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you want to read it, we can talk about it, because I love that idea of just like finding what it is, like, are you made for?
Yeah, I like it.
Anyways, that was a totally aside. That has nothing to do with follow through. When you said, what does the world need? I was like, oh, that reminds me of Ikigai.
It's kind of the same. It's following through on your life plan.
Because I feel like, yeah, let's segue. Because yeah, I feel like if you find what all 4 of those pillars are, it's really like a Venn diagram. But when you find those 4 pieces of the Venn diagram, I feel like follow through becomes so much easier. Because I mean, I know probably for you, when you feel all 4 of those things, it makes it you want to. I mean, I know they say like find something you love to do because you'll never feel like you work a day in your life, and it's like, yeah, that's what Ikigai is.
Mm-hmm. It's flow. It's life flow is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, we need to have a Buddhist monk on here or something.
Work on it, Ashley.
I know.
That's your task. You need to follow through.
Yeah.
Well, and also follow through too from the last episode. The social media post I had put out there was saying, we talked about this, and this, but do we really follow through? I would say for the most part, we do. I do think that we have followed through to completion, but just like everybody else, there's things like my quilt that maybe or maybe not will ever be completed.
Yeah. There are definitely, I mean, your mom mentioned it the other day. It took her how many years to finish some cards? Some like
Yes.
greeting cards or
Yep.
something?
My
Like
mom makes, yep, cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards, Easter cards. And yeah, it took her, what'd she say, 10 years?
10 years for 10 cards?
Yep.
Something like that.
And the person thought that she had forgotten about him. She hadn't. She
Didn't get around to it.
Well, it was the creative flow. She had to be in the right creative
Mm.
mind in order to create the cards that she wanted to give to him.
I'm trying to think of something that I haven't followed through with lately. God, I don't even know. I've just simplified my life so much. I don't really have like a lot of stuff, like especially projects in my house. Now, are there things I've probably forgotten about? 100%. Like sometimes procrastinate, like getting my oil changed. Like I know I need to do it. I just don't make it priority. I'm just like, yeah, not today. But then like a month later, I'm like, oh, I really need to go do this.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're going to be sitting alongside of the road and say, "Oh, I really wish I would have
I
changed my
should have
oil
done that.
3 months ago."
Yep. I know a lot of people do this with the doctor or the dentist.
Well, I think that's fear.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can get that. I get that. Going to the doctor is scary sometimes, especially now if you're really worried.
Yeah, and especially if you don't want to get bad news about diabetes,
Whatever it is.
yeah, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, whatever it is, or the dentist, because so many of us older people, we didn't have good dentistry or pain management back in the day. So
Yeah.
our first thought is, oh my gosh, we're going to go to the dentist and it's going to hurt really bad. So if I don't go, it's not going to hurt. So there's fear, pain.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, pain management, because I've only ever had positive experiences with the dentist. Like I've
Lucky
never
you.
I know that's the thing is like I've always wondered that because people always say I'll be like, I'm going to the dentist, and they're like, oh, I hate the dentist. And I'm like, really? I love the dentist. I love getting my teeth cleaned. I think it's so peaceful. It is very odd. Like I would go to the dentist every day. I think it's so calming. Oh, I love it. I love going to the dentist. And so, but I've always heard people say they don't like it. But again, it's like the only teeth I've ever had pulled were my wisdom teeth. I was put to sleep, when that happened. They didn't really hurt when the pain meds came off. So it's like and even when they scrape and do the stuff that they have, they're always they do what they need to do, but they've never hurt me. So
Well, back in the early 90s, I was working at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and I would drive to Madison, Wisconsin to come to my mom's dentist because they were a no pain dentist. So I would drive all that way. I mean, of course, I got
wow.
to see my mom as well, but
Mhm.
it was because I had such terrible experiences as a child with the pain, and
I just never
my
knew.
mouth is very sensitive. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And now Matt and I go to a fantastic dentist here in Monona, Wisconsin. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's no pain. I don't feel anything.
I just love it. Yeah, I think it is. I will say that's a big deal though. Like doctor, I'm that way with doctors. Like I hate going to the doctor. I'm much better about it. I shouldn't say I hate it anymore. That's manifesting into existence. I don't mind going to the doctor anymore. I used to be terrified of it because I had like white coat syndrome. So every time I'd go to the doctor, they'd tell me I have had high blood pressure and something was wrong with me because my heart was beating so fast. And I'm just terrified. So I've gotten a lot better because now I keep telling myself the sooner you go to the doctor, the faster, if there is something wrong with you, they can diagnose it and you have a much more likely chance of correcting the problem if there is one at all.
Yep. Or
Like
get a second opinion.
yeah, like I had high blood pressure. My dentist alerted me to that. And I was able to like correct a bunch of things and now I don't have to take medicine for it anymore. So it's like cool stuff. But I'm like, I told myself, I'm glad my dentist told me to go check out a doctor. So to get that, because now I've probably, made sure that nothing's bad's going to happen later down the road. So anyways, that's a weird aside.
That's all right. Anything else on follow through?
Not that I can think of.
I will say that I have followed through on getting some very amazing guests on for the next few months.
You
I'm
have.
very excited about that.
You have been a guest magnet, just magnetizing people to you. We have some really awesome guests, and of course, we're not going to talk about them yet because it's a surprise.
Yeah.
But Robin is doing an awesome job. God, I feel like you just pulled in some incredible people. They just get better and better every time. Not that, the people before are not amazing, but I mean, we've got some incredible people to talk to and just pick their brains and learn from. And I'm excited because now we get to share it.
And it just goes to show how many amazing people are out there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel like we learn something every freaking time.
We do.
And it's all so different. Yeah, it's different every time. So these new people, I think topics we've never talked about before. So
I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah, I'm so excited too. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I would love to hear from our listeners. Maybe what are some reasons? First of all, what are some reasons that you procrastinate or don't follow through? Because I think everyone has different motivations for why they don't do things. And then also, yeah, how have you combated that? Like maybe you've noticed that you don't do it. What are some things that help motivate you to get up and start something that you stopped for a while, or start something for the first time that you've been meaning to do? Just post it on Facebook or email us. I can do anything pod@gmail.com. And yeah, that's all I've got. Anything from you?
Nope. That sums it all up.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us. And until next time, stay awesome.
And keep reaching for your anything.
Goodbye.
See you later.